Chats with Trae. Chats with Trae.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Chats with Trae. I'm your co host, Trae Holiday. And you guys know I love it when we have a clothing brand in the building. I'm so excited to be able to sit down today with Miss Ryshel Sampson of the brand Cloud9. What's up, Ryshel?
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, good.
Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you're here with us and that we can dive into your background a little bit. And then after the break, we're going to really get into the brand Cloud9.
Sounds good.
Absolutely. I see you're representing your brand.
Yes. Always, anywhere I go.
Yeah, you know what? It's so funny because when I talk to folks who have clothing, you almost always see them in something that they create.
As should.
And you know what? That's really another representation of Black brilliance to me. I got to tell you. So I'm so glad and honored that you could join us.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's get into it. I mean, you know, you're from Seattle, born and raised, and I want to talk a little bit about your background because I also find that oftentimes there's always been a thorough line of creativity. So let us understand a little bit more about Ryshel.
Okay, so like as she said, I have a brand called the brand Cloud9, and within that it's it's an umbrella basically. Within that I do clothing. I just launched a food cart which is only containing beverages right now of cold drinks, and it's Cloud9 cold drinks. I'm a photographer. I'm just really an all-around entrepreneur.
Wow. And you know, as you talk about some of the other things that you do, what had you or what inspired you maybe to think, you know what, I'm going to expand and do more than just clothing?
It was really not limiting myself. I feel like I put myself in a box maybe because of my surroundings, my area code, or my own limited beliefs. And I feel like though I'm young, it took me hitting rock bottom a lot of times to really just go for it and say, forget it, I'm gonna just take all barriers off and see what happens.
Yeah, so when we think about, you know, your beginnings, you know, as a young person really launching, obviously utilizing the brand Cloud9 as an umbrella, but then thinking, you know what, I'm going to, you know, push myself to the limit. What were some of the notions that you had when you talk about hitting rock bottom? You know, because a lot of the times that's the resilience our audience needs to hear about.
Right. No. So just being transparent, I'm 23, I'm young, but I feel like I had a lot of experience up until this point, from heartbreaks, death, just adversity really. Adversity really is what shaped me. And that's, my brand's called Cloud9, but I had a collection where I did sink or swim, and it really is just like failing or succeeding, but that's just based on one's own effort, you know, like some days you may sink, some days you may swim, but I feel like if you could just maintain a doggy pedal, that's my fight. As long as I could wake up and fight every day, that's enough for me. So.
Yeah, well, you know, how was it for you growing up in Seattle? I mean, a lot of us had so many similar experiences, but there's always this customizable story, right, for each one of us that really shapes who we are and really allows us to kind of understand who we're going to be. When we're young people and we're thinking about, you know, being an adult, what were some of the things that really stuck out for you during your childhood that you feel like are kind of pillars that you rely on now?
Right. Well, I feel like a lot of it, what I seen growing up, I seen what I didn't want. So, you know, we don't know what we don't know. And with that being said, I took what I needed from my environment, from the people around me. I took just what I needed, and I knew the life I wanted to create, it probably wasn't gonna look like history. It probably wasn't gonna look like my elders, my ancestors. So I knew the path that I was gonna dive into. I just knew that I had to be secure in myself because it wasn't gonna look like no other blueprint or things like that.
So you really had to create it yourself?
Yeah, from scratch several times. I feel like I die and rebirth all the time. Like that's my story.
Wow. And you know, you say you grew up in South Seattle.
Yes.
So I got to ask, you know, as a proud Bulldog grad, you know we're going to go here, but what schools did you attend?
So I went to Emerson Elementary in South Seattle. Then I went to South Shore K through 8, and from there I went to Cleveland High School.
Right on.
Proud Eagle, too.
Yeah, okay. I'm not mad at you.
I
you
won
know what I'm
2
saying?
state championships there.
Wow. In what sport?
Women's basketball.
Wow.
Yes.
Ryshel, you was out there on the court.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you think about that, that's also so much dedication that it takes to be a student athlete. I have a 15-year-old right now, and that's all that I feel like he is consumed by is basketball. How was it for you? Because clearly with your creative flair and also being on the court, were you able to kind of meld the two when you were in high school?
To be honest, I feel like that was a lot of what shaped me right now was the trying to figure it out part. I didn't feel like I had a good balance back then, which is why I feel like I had a lot of hiccups early on. And today, like, obviously adversity hits and it's unexpected, but I feel like now I maneuver through adversity pretty well, more composed, more calm, with a clearer understanding. I feel like early on I didn't have a foundation for myself, wasn't knowing who I was, so I was really shakeable back then. So yeah.
Wow. And basketball helped to give some grounding and foundation.
That was like therapy for me in a way.
Out there on the court, two championships.
Yes.
Oh, I'm
Back
not
to
mad
back.
at you. I'm not mad at you. You know what I'm saying? I know I graduated at a time where Garfield was riding high on our sports, man. Shout out to my brothers, man. Trae Simmons and Roy. And, you know, oh, my
Right.
gosh. There's
some
so
of the
many,
legends.
You know, and still doing it to this day.
Right.
How do you kind of carry forward with some of the lessons that you were able to learn as a young person and maybe being an example for young people today?
I feel like I thrive on transparency. So communication, really. I love the art of storytelling, which is why I love the media world. I love taking nothing and making it to something. So I feel like me giving back what I know, my information and things like that, my lessons, even the not so good stories, as well as my success stories, just because I feel like it's best to just be real and be transparent and be honest with everyone. Because though everyone's going to go through their own journey, you giving some realness to someone might help them along the way.
You know, I agree with you 100%, Ryshel. I think, you know, when it comes to, you know, even just being a mother, you know, some of the things that are foundational for me in, you know, educating my children is being open and honest about my own experiences as a young person, right? And who would have known that I'd end up here today, right? And so I always love to peel the onion back a bit and really, you know, showcase some of that vulnerability. I think it is so beneficial to those that we share it with. And the funny thing is that it always happens at the right time.
Divine.
Right? Yeah, so divine, you know, where you find yourself in the midst of a conversation, you're at the grocery store or the library or something, and you didn't expect to have such a deep, profound impact on someone else, or for them to have a deep, profound impact on you. And so I love being able to dive into that. And I love what you said about transparency and communication. I think, you know, we need more of that in this world. And, you know, so much of what I love to talk about here on this platform is, you know, folks seeing themselves as part of the solution. I mean, clearly you're doing that, and we're going to be getting into that in the second segment of the show here. But I think so much of it is that the inspiration comes when we share. If we're holding on to everything, man, you know, you can kind of forget about it.
I learned just this year that me withholding my gifts was doing more harm to me in the world than me just getting out there and just doing it. I feel like God wasn't able to bless me because I was hiding, really. In the moment that I stepped out, he met me more than halfway, and that's my testament.
You know what? And it's a beautiful testimony for sure. I think there's so many of us that there's maybe a line of fear, right? Of, you know,
Yes,
you
definitely.
don't want to fail. You definitely don't want to fail in front of a bunch of
Right.
folks, right? Because again, that vulnerability piece. But when we do step out and we begin to live in our purpose, it really changes the game.
It does.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you could share that. And really, you know, being somebody who grew up in Seattle, I mean, you know, outside of what you do right now, I know that you've experienced so much of what we talk about right here at Converge. You know, we talk about gentrification and how it wrecked our communities. When you were growing up, how was it for you to kind of witness that transition as, you know, you maybe were growing up around more black folks than what we see now in our neighborhoods? Did that ever impact you in any way?
Yes, definitely. Even till this day, obviously, just that the gentrification is growing. we grew up, we see all the old places, the landmarks. Now we see it being taken away, and we're watching like the whole construction process. So the year long is taking to build it, and it's like, wow, this is really like diminishing right in front of us, vanishing right in front of us. And it really is sad that we don't even get to hold on to that piece of history or pass it down to our kids and the next generation. It feels like it's really being taken away. We feel robbed. It's like a sense of invasion, really.
Yeah, a sense of invasion is a great way to put it. I work in that so deeply that sometimes, when we're focusing on these solutions, I really try to lend that sense of optimism toward it, because there are some great solutions happening on the ground to bring folks back to the Central District and South End, to make sure that folks are able to keep their homes in those areas that were just so historically majority Black owned and really owned, right? A lot of our people own properties. It wasn't just that we were renters in a lot of these places. We were owners. And
proud owners.
Yeah, proud owners. You're absolutely right. And the notion that, it's now derelict, or like, nobody cares about those areas, that is actually being dispelled completely and wholeheartedly when we see folks saying, nah, man, this is my community, and I don't care if I live in South King County, I'm coming back to make sure that I'm not only supporting that history and that legacy, but that I'm adding to it. And you clearly are doing that with the brand Cloud9.
I'm trying, and I'm hoping I'm making people proud, and I'm making myself proud. So that's all that matters to me at the end of the day.
Before we get into the next segment here, I got to ask you, because, this is a real time where we're dealing with a lot of gun violence. It's impacting our youth. You are a young person yourself. Before we go to break, I just want to be able to give you some space to talk a little bit about how the violence that we're seeing, it's such a huge uptick right now, how that may be impacting you.
I feel like it's something that I could never get used to. I've actually lost a lot of friends from gun violence, and just in this past week, 5 people that I know or know of have passed away from gun violence. I think it's ridiculous. I think we need some solutions. I don't want to just be like the Debbie Downer, but this is real. Like the emotional impact on the Black community, the physical impact, like it's a lot. And I feel like the Black community is not always equipped with the being able to bounce back from these things. Yeah, we get over it, but the grieving process never really happens for us. And I feel like there's a lot of unhealed people in the Black community from gun violence alone.
You know what, Ryshel, you're making me proud here. As a 23-year-old, I'll tell you that much, because
thank you.
You really seem like so mature and really well versed in what you're here to do. I can't wait to dive in after this short break into the brand Cloud9. You guys are hearing Ryshel right here on Chats with Trae, and I hope you're enjoying this chat so far. I'm looking forward to diving deeper into the brand and all of the amazing ways that Ryshel is using the brand as an umbrella for so many great creative aspects and elements that I know a lot of our community are benefiting from. You guys, stay tuned. We're going to take a short break right here. You're watching Chats with Trae. Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media. Hey everybody, we all know that COVID-19 has had a major impact on everything this year, even energy bills. Puget Sound Energy understands the ongoing struggle that's facing its customers. And this is why they're offering a COVID bill assistance program of up to $2,500 per qualified customer. If you or anyone you know are currently behind on energy bills, please contact PSC today to discuss all of the assistance options available. Visit psc.com/COVID to learn more.
Hey, it's Jake from Converge Media and Get the F Outside. I hope that all of you are taking advantage of the ability to be outdoors and enjoy nature as our summer months heat up. One other thing that you can take advantage of here in the King County area are free COVID-19 vaccinations. There's all kinds of options for pop-up clinics, and the vaccine is able to be administered to anyone 12 years and older. And did I mention that it's free? You don't need insurance, and they don't care what your citizenship status is. And that kind of sounds like the way things should be anyhow, but we'll save that for another conversation. Information and resources are available at kingcounty.gov/COVID, or you can call the COVID-19 call center at 206-477-3977. Washington, we are almost out of this, but we got to stay locked in for the home stretch. Let's get vaxxed out so we can max out our time with friends, family, and in the great outdoors.
Oh, I love that. Get the F outside. You guys have plenty of opportunity to support the shows right here on Converge. We so appreciate you guys sharing these views, sharing these shows. If we're, entertaining you and educating you at the same time, please make sure you guys are tagging and sharing these shows with friends and family, because it's so important. But welcome back to Chats with Trae. I'm the host of this show, Chats with Trae, and honestly, I'm enjoying my time so much on set and in the studio with Miss Ryshel Sampson of the brand Cloud9. In the first segment, it was so interesting and really informative for me to dive in deep with Ryshel and her background here as a born and bred Seattleite. And I'm really excited to dive into the brand Cloud.
Having me today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just always great to dive in and get people to understand who you are as a business owner. And so I do want to talk about your business. Clearly, I can't wait because, Ryshel came through in the nick of time. But as soon as I get my gear, Ryshel, I'm going to make sure,
Yes.
I'm representing.
I'm getting that to you ASAP.
Absolutely. Make sure I'm representing. I love this lime green. I love the bright colors. Let's talk more about the clothing side of the umbrella that you've created.
Okay.
What had you really inspired to say, these are the kind of designs I want to do?
Okay. So I knew I wanted something simple. I wanted something real minimal. I wanted my name. I wanted the message to speak for itself. I knew that me starting out with clothing wasn't going to be the finish line for me. I knew it was just actually going to be the beginning for me to get in the door of the many ideas that I would like to do. I needed a way to monetize originally. Clothing is always a go-to. We have to wear things every day, so I know I needed to target my audience with something that they're going to be purchasing anyway. It started with the clothing. I knew from there that when I got this under wraps, at a stable place, that I wanted to use some of my income to fund another business, which was the Cloud9 Cold Drinks. We'll get into that a little bit later. So back to the clothing, all in all, I just really wanted a strong message. I wanted a strong brand. I wanted a strong foundation. And my brand's really just a reflection of me. The time and the energy that I put into my brand is the time and energy that I put into myself. So as I wanted my brand to have a foundation, Ryshel needed a foundation, and that's how I started with this.
That makes a lot of sense, honestly. And like I said in the first segment, man, you are mature for 23.
Thank you.
Because honestly, it's not, we see a lot of young folks that are just still caught in the sauce a little bit. And you really have centered yourself on something that I think is definitely beneficial to the community. Now, let's talk about how you started the brand. I know you said you started in 2016. What was
Yes.
that like for you to start maybe before the pandemic and maybe work through it?
Right. So I started in 2016, and I graduated high school in 2016. So it was just a lot of hands-on ideas, creativity going. What's the next thing gonna go for me? I like labor work. I love being educated, but I didn't like the educational system for Seattle Public Schools or just the education system in general. I go to University of Washington. I'm on a break right now just because I'm pursuing my brand and business full-time right now. But I never thought it was designed for people like us, Black people. So I just had a hard time just following in line with that. Just everything that comes with it, it's a lot. It takes a lot on you mentally, which is why even this brand is really a mental health brand as well. Like I said, it's my life. I struggle with mental health as well. And I won't even call it a struggle. I fight mental health daily. So I really win these battles for real on a daily. I just want to highlight that. But so yeah, sorry, I kind of got away from what you were saying a little bit, but I started 2016, and like I said, it was the foundational part of my life where I was graduating high school, and it was what was next. I just dove into it really.
You know, that's really bold. Honestly, it is really bold because as a 17, 18-year-old, like you had the foresight to be like, nah, I want to do my own business, and I know that I want to do that. Even, you know, with the opportunities to go to college and everything else, that you had the stick-to-itiveness to say, you know what, I'm going to make sure that I have a business that I am going to build on top of
Ground
everything
up,
else.
yeah.
Everything else I'm doing. So, you know, we talked about this. I mean, the pandemic really has hit a lot of different people, and it may be different how you were approaching customers and everything like that before the pandemic versus after. What kind of transitions do you think you experienced during that time?
I feel like now I'm more so, I wouldn't say laid back, but I kind of allow my customers to come to me. I throw my product out there. I throw what the quality, what I have to offer. And instead of knocking at people's door, I feel like I'm more inviting them in. I feel like I'm inviting them in, like I said, with the message, what I'm doing behind the scenes of the brand, not more so of the product. I feel like I could sell candles. I feel like I could sell drinks. I feel like I could sell clothing. I could sell $1 back to you, really, I can. But, you know, all that to say, it's an art. I think life is an art. I feel like you never know anything. So it's just always the learning stage, which, like I said, I love being educated. Might not like the school system, but education, I'm always feeding. I'm YouTube University as well, so I'm always spoon feeding myself some new things that I feel like will benefit me.
Well, what are some of the major pieces that you have with the brand Cloud9? Clearly, you have on one of your campaigns right there, Sink or Swim,
Yes.
which you talked a bit about in the first segment. But what are some of the, what kind of pieces can a customer expect to buy if they're looking to
I
support?
actually had brought some merch today. I'm actually wearing some. So we got organic cotton sweatsuits. Like I said, heavy on the organic cotton because a lot, you know, you have poly blends, you have regular cotton blends, you have just all these other materials. This is organic cotton certified, where you know the source is coming from, where it's being produced at, grown at, things like that. And so the brand is really, as I said, it could be a simple logo. I want quality character, quality materials, quality everything, and that's the foundation for us.
Wow. So it sounds like you have a lot of like athleisure type wear.
Yes.
You know, I mean, kind of stemming from your time in
Right,
basketball.
right.
So you have sweatshirts, sweatpants.
Sweatshirts, sweatpants, t-shirts. We're actually getting ready to drop some shorts within the next month. Anything clothing. We have jackets that will be available soon. Really just anything you get your hands on, we have hats, like I said, just apparel. Like if you can wear it, we probably have it. We don't have shoes yet. We got socks coming out, so.
Wow.
Yes.
Not a lot of our local retailers think about socks.
Right. I'm a sock person. I love going back to basketball days. I had to have a fresh pair of socks. It had to be a freaky design on it, or freaky color, something.
Yeah, that's my son. I love the basketball
Yep.
world because it's so true. Like sometimes folks will just identify you by having the colorful socks
Right.
on the court, right? So let's dig into some of the branding that you have, because you were talking about Sink or
Yes.
Swim and how that really is a modicum for your life, something that you really follow. Is there other things that you have printed on the shirts or on the sweatshirts?
So actually right now we're just focusing on branding. So you'll just see a lot of Cloud9 logos, Cloud logo, or our text Cloud9. These particularly had Sink or Swim because this was a dedication to homelessness in Seattle. So for every sweatshirt that was purchased with this collection, one was given to a homeless person in Seattle, and that was just our way of giving back. This dropped in, I think, 2017, so this was really early on. I always have a give back spirit, so yeah, you'll see a lot of that.
You know what? And that really speaks volumes. I think when we talk about brands out here, there's not enough of major brands that are really intentional about, hey, this is how we're going to build up the communities that where our brand is located or where our shops are located. But it is so beautiful to hear that our local folks, our smaller brands, our solopreneurs are the ones thinking about that, and that you did that early on in your brand. Shout out to you for that, because
Thank you.
honestly, it is to me, it's so inspiring. It really does take us to do better, right? And so to be that example of it. Omari and I say it here on Converge all the time that, we can't wait for anybody to save us. And you're already incorporating those solutions into your brand. So shout out to you, man.
Thank you
Hats
so
off.
much. Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm impressed.
Thank you.
I do want to get into some of the other things you have under the umbrella. You were just talking about launching cold drinks.
Yes.
Cloud9 cold drinks. So you're doing it all.
Yes, ma'am. So I have a new business I just ventured off into. I actually launched last weekend. I wasn't supposed to launch till July, but Africa Town, shout out to some of the resources here in Seattle that are pouring into the Black businesses. They invited me to their Juneteenth event at the Jimi Hendrix Park. So I launched there. And actually, just to share a little highlight, on Saturday was the biggest turnout, and I looked at the analytics, and I did 50 customers per hour. So that's almost a customer per minute if you think about it. Wow. The wait time for the drinks was almost no wait time, and the lines were wrapped around. So I'm very proud of how that turned out for the first launch. Like I said, not being ready, but knowing I had to just jump in, God meeting me more than halfway. I will actually be back there at Jimi Hendrix this weekend for the Pride event, and so you could catch Cloud9 cold drinks. And we serve Italian sodas, we serve smoothies, acai bowls, bubble tea, and fresh squeezed lemonade.
Wow.
So all the cold drinks you can get, yes.
Wow. I mean, you know what? And, this Juneteenth was epic, and I'm glad that you made the bridge, because that's where I was going. As a local business right here in Seattle and King County, there's a lot of great opportunities in terms of vending, and so I wanted to ask you about that. How has that worked for you as a brand to be out there? I mean, you just gave some amazing analytics, but other events, because I know King County Equity Now, Africa Town got together to do, Juneteenth was epic.
It was popping. It was so popping. It was so peaceful. It felt like a safe environment. They had the music going. Everyone was networking. It was just really love there, and that's what Seattle needs, with all the gun violence and things going like that, the gentrification, really reclaiming our part of the town, Jimi Hendrix Park, and having fun too.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you been able to be a participant in other events? I know so much erupted last year after George Floyd's death. We saw so many people up in the Chop Zone and Capitol Hill. Mm-hmm. We saw, these amazing productions happening and events happening in South Seattle. There was thousands that came to that South Seattle march. We saw it again at Juneteenth last year. Mm-hmm. How has it been for you just kind of during this period where there's a lot of opportunity for you to just be out there making sure people get to know your brand?
Right. So actually, I just recently, like I said, just launched last weekend. So I actually, from COVID and the George Floyd and the many killings, Breonna Taylor, things like that, I haven't been able to really take advantage of the full opportunity just because I was more on the clothing side, and I do that online and things like that. So, but now that I'm physically got a cart here, can move around any part of town, taking on the road with me, I'm taking advantage full force. Any opportunity, I'm on Google. What festival, what event, what farmers market's next? I want parts of it. So yes, I definitely will from here on out be taking advantage of everything Seattle has to offer for the small businesses and vendors.
Yeah, and just shout out to so many different resource folks out there. I know Black Dot has an incredible amount of ways to network and really scale up your businesses. And just earlier we were talking a little bit about not outside of Chats with Trae, but just talking about the opportunities to open up now downtown. Yeah. I mean, who would have thought about these vacant buildings now needing tenants? So I don't know. We put the challenge out there. It's something for you to think about as well, because I feel like there were certain spaces that just weren't as open or as accessible to so many of our Black business owners. And now with COVID, there's kind of the egg's been cracked a bit here, and now there's more opportunities. So I love that you're being very intentional about, hey, I'm going to be at wherever I can be to make sure I'm getting my brand out there. And kudos to you for having such great numbers. I've heard
Thank
so
you.
many great things of people about Juneteenth. I mean, it's just so many thousands of people.
Man.
You know, people were like, wow, I have, this is triple the amount I made at other, events. So it's a great thing to see that we actually can be supporting our own economies. Now, you did say that, you also are into photography.
Yes,
before I let
yes.
you go, we got to get into how you're doing that and all these amazing hats you're wearing. You clearly have octopus arms.
That's funny. So yes, I actually became a photographer, and I hate the word photographer because I'm just like a media person, whether it's radio, whether it's anything, I love it, audio. But I started photography when I was in high school, which aided me to go to college, University of Washington, for media and communications, back to loving the art of storytelling. So yeah, I started back then. I actually don't really promote myself that much because of how hands-on I'm with other things. But the people who do know that I do this, they reach out. We get our gigs done, and it's lovely. So if you are interested, you can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram and things like that, and I'll be happy to set something up.
Well, you know what, Ryshel, this has just been an amazing chat today. And thank you so much for, truly adding to my joy is what you've done today.
Thank you. That means so much to me.
I mean it. I mean, honestly, I love what I do here on Chats with Trae, and it's because I get to connect with folks like you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And maybe I would have seen your booth out there. I think I actually did get a Cloud9 drink on Juneteenth.
Oh, okay.
Somebody bought it and brought it to me. So thank you, because
No
Italian
problem.
soda is one of my favorites.
Thank you for having one.
Absolutely. And so, this for me is really a joy. It's a treat, and it's a pleasure to have you on here. And you just spoke a little bit about it, but let's make sure folks know exactly where to find you on IG. What are your handles? Make sure they can reach out if they
Yes.
want to buy a sweatshirt, if they want to buy a drink, or or get your services for photography, all the amazing things. How can they get in touch with
First,
you?
thanks for doubling back in. So you can find me, my brand on Instagram at the brand Cloud9, and that's where you can find my clothing at. And then at Cloud9 Code Drinks, and that's where you could find where to find us in the city at any given time, our hours, our menu, our online ordering system, things like that. And you can find me at Instagram at Shelby Woo, and you could contact me for any photography or media. If you just want to have a conversation or bounce ideas off of me and pick my brain a little bit, I would love that too. So feel free.
Wow. Once again, I'm so honored to have you on. Thank you so much.
So
for-
mutual. Thank
Yeah.
you. I'm honored to be here.
Of course. Thank you so much for joining us today and really adding to the Chats with Trae family. You're welcome anytime. So if you launch something new, let me know. And y'all know they'll see me out there wearing your stuff. So you know what
I'm
saying?
telling you, I'm getting that to you ASAP.
Hey, we'll make it
ASAP.
happen for sure. Again, Ryshel, thank you again. Appreciate
It's a pleasure.
you.
Thank you.
You guys, this is what elates me so much. I mean, I am literally, I come with joy, but I love when people can add to the joy. And Ryshel has done that today, being such a young person, 23 years old, taking the world by storm with her creativity. I mean, clearly we see here a beautiful brand, bright clothing, amazing messaging on the clothing, but also being very specific about, hey, I don't have to be pigeonholed just to do clothing. I'm going to do these cold drinks because I think there's a need there. And hey, I'm going to be able to utilize my skill set in media and doing photography and being able to be open to these media opportunities out here as well. I mean, really seeing herself as so many different parts of the solution. So when I think about an example like Ryshel, and I always stress to y'all and say to y'all, see yourself as part of the solution. You guys have a dynamic example in today's episode with Ryshel Sampson and the brand Cloud9. I'm just excited because now I got somebody else that I get to add to my roster when it comes to amazing people doing amazing things right here throughout King County. And I'm just honored to be able to utilize Chats with Trae to elevate the work of so many amazing people that are doing it. So I hope you're inspired today as I was, so that you find a way to say, you know what? Ryshel did it, I can too. I'm going to launch something right now. I'm going to launch it in a week, and I'm going to be out there vending. Shout out to all of you who set up early in the morning for these vending opportunities. It is a all day, full body on thing. I understand it, but it really is a beautiful thing to build back Black Wall Street, one vendor at a time and one opportunity at a time, one idea at a time. Find a way to be a part of the solution. Thank you so much, y'all, for watching Chats with Trae this week. We appreciate you. You guys know we'll be back next week with a brand new episode, hot off the presses for you guys. Thanks again, you guys. I'm Trae Holiday saying peace to all of you out there.
Chats with Trae.